I went from a $45,000 salary to a six-figure salary, and let's talk about how I got there. So the reason why I want to share my salary and my progression and my history is because I believe that salary transparency is so important, only because it gives you more knowledge and it makes you understand how much are people getting paid. Am I underpaid? But also, I think like talking about money should be more normalized. I think I've learned so much over the course of this year, or over the course of many years, on how to manage my finance, but also how much people are making and how do people budget, what do people invest in. And so talking about money, I think, is super important for people to learn, because you don't learn this in school. And so I think it's super important to just share how much you're making so that people are aware that this information is public. I love asking my coworkers how much they're getting paid at work. Like, I love that the culture at my work is super chill, and it's great to understand how much people are getting paid so that you know yourself you're not underpaid. And so that's why I want to share this, but I also want to talk about how I started at my pay once I graduated versus what I get paid now, so that you guys also know it's possible that you could reach this point too as well. First off, I'm just gonna give a little introduction. My name is Helen. If you didn't know, my name is Helen. And I'm based in Canada, specifically Montreal. Currently, I'm in the product design field. Specifically, some people call it UX UI, but right now the industry calls it product design, so I call it product design. I'm not building physical products. We're designing digital products online. And currently I have little over 3 years of experience in the product design field. However, I've been in the design field since 2020, because that's when I graduated from graphic design. In Quebec, instead of going from high school to university, or what the people call it in United States, they call it college. So in United States, or in most places of the world, you go from high school to university/college. In Quebec, you go from high school and then you do 2 years in CEGEP, and then you go to university, which is what is commonly known as college in the state. And so after I graduated from high school, I decided to do business, specifically commerce. So I was thinking about becoming an accounting. And so I got my degree in commerce, and then I decided to move into graphic design because I was like, I want to take an artistic route. At the time, I didn't consider the salary. I mean, I did a quick Google on how much people make, and I was like, okay, it's a decent amount. I saw like 45 to like 70 grand. So I was like, okay, I think that's like a livable wage. And like back then I was living at home, so I didn't understand the value of money, or the true value of money, and how much you need to live on it, especially once the taxes kick in. In Quebec, the taxes are heavy. And I'm gonna also talk about it when I talk about my salary, my net and gross pay. Yeah, at the time I was okay with that pay, and it just all made sense. So I started my education in graphic design. Yeah, I'll talk about how I ended up in product design a little bit later on. So let's go over the different stages of my career. Yeah, so when I was still in CEGEP doing graphic design, I decided to go seeking for more experience. I was okay with taking on jobs where I was not paid, which, looking back, I don't know what I was thinking. But thankfully, I really specifically had the dream to do graphic design in fashion. And so I went to the hottest fashion store in Montreal at the time, and I pitched myself. I dropped off my portfolio. I saw that they were looking for a graphic design intern, so I decided to apply for that, and I eventually got the job. And thankfully, it was a paid internship. I got minimum salary. It was $11.25. Essentially, my first job in graphic design, or in my field, was being paid minimum wage at the time in Quebec. Now, my second job in the graphic design field was right after COVID. I was working my admin job, which I'm not going to count the admin job. I basically got that admin job as an interim while I look for a real job in my field. And thankfully in the summer, I always do my admin job, and I got an email from a design agency that reached out to me. I was applying everywhere. However, no one was getting back to me, but a design agency reached out to me. They basically found my portfolio from the Dawson graduate website, and I think they went through all of the graduates and they really liked the work that I did. And so I got reached out by them. I did the interview, I got the job, and they basically asked me what are my salary expectations. And I think at the time I kind of lowballed myself. So I gave myself $20 an hour. Essentially, I was a contract graphic designer. I didn't get hired as an employee there, but I was just contracted projects after project after project. So it was cool. I was working my own hours. It was kind of freelancing. The pay was not stable, however, and so it just depended on whenever the agency got projects. That's when they gave it to me. And it was a small agency. We were only 3 people. That was my second job within the design field. Now the third job, and the most toxic one. This job I actually applied for because the second job that I got at the agency was wishy-washy. I really wanted a stable pay. I'm just a girl that craves stability, and so I really just wanted like a permanent job at a company where I just have a pay bi-weekly, you know, all that. Again, I wanted to do graphic design in fashion specifically, so this was like up my alley. This was really up my alley. I applied, I eventually got the job, and again, they asked me what was my salary expectation. And again, I lowballed myself. The reason why is because I did my research and I found out that people that start off in graphic design get paid $45,000 to $55,000 a year. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna start off with $45,000. And again, I didn't really understand the value of money, but in the end, when I got my bi-weekly pay, I realized it was the same amount of money as my admin job again. So I wasn't getting paid increase. I think because the value of 45 translating to $20 an hour didn't really, to me, I didn't know it was the equivalent. But in Canada, because of taxes, $22 an hour and a $45,000 salary is kind of the same thing. And so when I started getting paid, I noticed that my bi-weekly pay was the same amount as my admin job where I only needed a high school degree. And so it was kind of degrading, I think. And at that company, they got me working to my effing bones. Like I felt like I was like scrubbing toilets on the floor on my knees, like begging for freedom. Like that job was intense and I was so unhappy at the job. I didn't last that long. I felt like I was starting to get depressed. So eventually, I think 6 months in, I decided to quit and go back to school. Yes, and I went back into a coding boot camp. So throughout there, I think I quit my job in November and I did the coding boot camp from January to maybe May, thinking that I would become a developer, which did not happen. I think I have a whole story about my journey going into product design in another video where you could watch. But anyways, I just did not think that coding was for me. I enjoy building things, but I can't do it as a day-to-day job. That was when I started applying to UX and UI design jobs, and I created a portfolio. And so my fourth job after that is that I did many interviews and I finally got a job at a tech company. And that's where I got the biggest pay jump. I went from $45,000 doing a graphic design job. And when I changed into product design in tech, I was hired as a junior, obviously, because I had no experience. My salary was $75,000. So it was a $25,000 salary jump, which was insane. And again, is specifically because of the career change. At the time when I had my third job at the fashion company, where I was getting paid $45,000, I realized $45,000 was not a lot. Like you can't survive off of that. And if you do, congrats to you. But in Montreal, I don't think people could survive off of 45K unless they have roommates, you know? And so I was like, I need to find like my next job, if I'm deciding to go back to school, needs to be paying a lot more. And so I started doing, I really suggest a lot of people do this, but do research on the industry you're going into. Like just follow your heart and your passion, but if it doesn't pay, don't make it your job. Like honestly, please don't make it your job. My philosophy is that if you want a certain lifestyle, if you want a certain amount of money per year, do the research. I think you should have that number in your head and realistically do the research on finding the jobs that actually do pay that much. And that's kind of what I did. I realized that I still really enjoy design, but I don't know what field in design actually pays well. Where I kind of did the research backwards. I'm like, I want to get paid X amount. Let me look for jobs in the design field that gets paid that amount. And I realized that UX and UI design was a field where you can get 6 figures. It is actually normal to get 6 figures. And so that was the industry I decided to go into. knowing that I want to make X amount of money, right? And so that's why I decided to kind of pivot from graphic design, knowing that graphic design kind of hits a ceiling at some point. It was not for me. One last thing I would like to add is that if you are still in school and you're watching this, what I want you to do is understand what lifestyle you want to live, understand how much money you want to make. I think it's a little bit harder as someone who lives at home to really understand the value of money, but do research on how much rent costs, do research on how much a mortgage costs. Like, do these research, understand how much the electricity costs, financing a car, how much a car costs, and kind of work backwards on your plan. Like, if you want a certain car, if you want a certain house, like, work backwards and understand with all of these expenses and how much you make, what is feasible. And once you have that number in mind of how much you want to make a year, there are so many resources online to understand what jobs offer that. I mean, today we have ChatGPT, so instead of even doing research, just like ask ChatGPT, like, how much does rent cost? How much being alive costs in your city? And figure that out. Work backwards, understand how much you want to make. Once you figure out that number, kind of look at the bucket of the careers that make that bracket or make that amount, and see from those options, what do you like, what do you enjoy, or what can you tolerate. Sometimes you don't have to pick a job that you actually love or is passionate about. Sometimes a job is just there to keep you sustained so that you could do your passions on the side or on the weekend. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to love your job every day. Sometimes people just do jobs to get by and then they do their passion on the weekend. So it's really just up to you how you want to live your life. So I decided to pivot. I pivoted into UX and UI. I got the first job. It was $25,000 more than what I got at my graphic design job. And again, it's because of the career change. And so yeah, I got paid $70,000 at that job. I don't know how much it translated specifically after taxes, but I'm gonna have all that information somewhere on the side. And then after that, I stayed in the same company. I eventually got a raise, and I got a raise to $75,000 after, I think, 8 months, probably about 8 months. And then a year into it, on December 2023, my manager at the time announced to me that I am going to get promoted to become a intermediate product designer. I went from $75,000 to $95,000, which is a $20,000 increase in my salary, which was insane at the time. Honestly, I'm so proud of myself because within 3 years, I think I went from $45,000 a year to $95,000 a year within 3 years, which is insane to me. And again, that was my circumstances. I decided to change fields from graphic design to product design. But yeah, if I could do it, just know that it's possible for you too as well. And so after that, I got a salary increase. The increase, I was not happy at the time because I put a lot of effort in, but let's not talk about that. That is not the topic for today. But I got a 2% increase. And I remember that 2% really, really stung. So eventually today, I finally hit $100,000. I'm hovering around that amount. I'm not gonna say how much, only because I found out a girl on YouTube. She mentioned how she shared her salary online, and it kind of backfired on her because the next job she applied to found out she had a YouTube channel. And so because she shared how much she made at her previous company, they were able to leverage that information. And so just for my sake, in case I do want to move around later on, I don't want to publicly share my salary currently. However, I'm going to say it is in the 6 figures as of right now. I am currently really proud of where I ended up. I am still an intermediate product designer. I just want to let you know that if it was feasible for me, it is feasible for you too. Some of you guys might have to put in extra work. I think the reason why is because of my circumstances. I'm thankful that I was able to make that pivot in my career because I lived at home with my parents, and I still do, but that's another subject for another time. I'm trying to save up for a house right now. Maybe by next year, end of the year, you'll see me in a new house. That's besides the point. The reason why I want to share this is just to show you guys that it's possible to get where you want to go. I think you just have to have a plan set out and have actionable steps to get there. Once you have your plan set up, just work to it. Work to it. Don't give up. Just keep going at it. And yeah, just know that it's possible. So hopefully you guys enjoy this video. I just love doing these. I think it helps people, but also as well, it makes me reflect on my journey and how I ended up where I am today. And yeah, I think I'm gonna have more videos like this. I'm a sucker for good finance videos. I love all things finance, and I think it's super important for people to learn, but also people to share as well. So if you enjoy this, please like, comment, subscribe. If you have nothing good to say, yo guys, I started getting hate comments, which is insane, because once you start getting haters, you've actually made it, which I don't think I made it, but yeah, just leave a nice comment. If you got nothing nice to say, please don't leave it, please, I beg of you. But yeah, hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you.